Today, I wanted to stay on the topic of frequency. One, because it's everything. The more that we dive deeper into human design, you'll learn that frequency is everywhere, it's infused in everything, and literally everything on the planet has its own vibration, including the words we use in human design. But what I wanted to focus on today is more about, yeah, am I right? Wanted to focus on today, like, I recognize that people aren't sitting around thinking, oh, I wish I could be more self aware. Or, oh, I feel that my frequency is off. I wonder what I can do to go reclaim it. Right? I recognize that isn't the message that people are sitting around thinking about when they're feeling so much pain in their life. It tells me my internet connection is unstable. So hopefully this all works out. Um, Again, recognize that, people aren't going around figuring out where to find their frequency. Um, but what they are saying and what they are feeling, really what they're feeling is that they're somewhere in a prison. They're somehow in a mental, emotional, spiritual kind of prison. And what they are saying is, God, if I don't find another job soon, I don't know what I'm going to do. The one that I'm currently in is sucking the soul out of me. Or even the relationship I'm in is sucking the soul out of me. If I have to wake up one more day and figure out how to make it through this relationship, I don't know what I'm going to do. I feel like there's no way out, whether that's a job or relationship. Or they say, I'm a business owner. I don't know where I'm supposed to go. I don't actually know what I'm doing. I'm trying to figure out this direction and nothing seems to be working for me. And I'm so unbelievably frustrated trying all of these things and nothing fitting, nothing feeling like it is me, it's for me, or that anything is really going to work. It might also sound like I feel so incredibly stuck and unfulfilled. And I cannot go another day figuring out how to find passion and purpose in this life. I am so done just surviving. I want to thrive. I want to find my passion. I want to find my purpose. Or I feel so underperforming. Like, I know I'm a high performer, but I'm not even remotely performing to the level that I think I can, that I think I should be. I feel as if my potential is so incredibly untapped and I don't even know where to go to find it. That is borrowed frequency. Those are all signs, whether any message, any variation of that message is a sign that you're living through your borrowed frequency. Oftentimes what happens is that the frequency that we were given, the frequency that's ours, the frequency that was handed to us the moment that we came onto this earth, it feels simple. It feels, dare I say, easy sometimes, right? The idea when someone comes up to you and like, Lauren, God, your voice is so powerful. How do you, find the words or come up with that energy? Your energy is so contagious. And I'm kind of like, it is? That's what you get from what I just said, right? I don't see it. I don't feel it. It comes so naturally. It comes sometimes so easily. Not that it's effortless. I've had to do a lot of work to get here, but that's my frequency, right? And oftentimes we feel it, that it's so easy. We're like, well, that can't be it. That can't be what I'm here to do. And so then we go searching for what we're not. We then go searching for all the things that we think we need to be in order to get what we want. And that's through living. That's living through borrowed frequency. It hurts. It sucks. It creates more challenges in this world, in our lives, and more resistance than we are intended to have. So the deeper you dive into your human design, the deeper you dive into figuring out your frequency, what you'll start to notice is that there's a consistent message that you hear when you're living through borrowed frequency, or this consistent kind of pain you feel, or this consistent kind of, I gotta go do this in order to figure out what I want, who I need here, who I need to be while I'm here. So I just wanted to kind of go through a story of what it looks like to live through borrowed frequency. So if we were to take my borrowed frequency, all the sources of my borrowed frequency, and from a technical standpoint, that's all the open areas in my human design. So for me personally, I'm a split definition. So the gates that bridge my split are going to be really loud for me in my life. And that's what I feel like I have to go do. That's then backed by all of the messages of my open centers. So my gates that bridge my gap or my split are gate 20, gate of busyness, gate of being in the now, gate of contemplation, and gate 16, the gate of skills. So for me, the message that my borrowed frequency sends to me is you need to stay busy building skills in order to then go to my open centers. Prove that you know what you're doing in order to find the direction in this life. Prove that you're the nicest person out there so that you don't rock the boat with anybody else. And that you can give or you can find the answers to all of the questions that plague your mind, whether they are relevant to your life or not. That is my borrowed frequency message that I constantly hear, that I'm constantly trying to fight, or in the times where I let it own me, that I feel like I have to go do. So, the biggest and most prominent example that I can give is that the moment that we live through our borrowed frequency, we're basically telling the world, here, you can have my energy. I don't know what to do with it, so I'm handing it over in order to find all of these answers that I think I need to find in this life in order to be successful. So for me personally, back in, I don't know, 2017, I was in desperate need of a new job. The one I was in, I was like, I physically cannot go on any longer in this position. It is mind-numbingly boring. I feel as if I aren't even remotely using the talents that I have. It was incredibly transactional. It was incredibly repetitive. And something like that is so incredibly frustrating to me. I was like, I need to get out. I was approached by a recruiter. She, let me in on this opportunity. The moment I walked in for the interview of this new job, my body was like, absolutely not. This is not for you. You're done. You don't even need to go through this interview. Don't even remotely entertain this. I went through, I don't know, what felt like 967 interviews to get this job, walked out. And I remember making a phone call being like, even if they offer it to me, I'm saying no. This is absolutely terrible and not for me. Fast forward, they offered me the position, and I was like, oh my God, I need to get out of where I am in order to take this new position. Literally the worst decision I have ever made because it was done through borrowed frequency. It was done through, I can no longer go through this mind numbing position. And oh, by the way, my body was screaming that I should not take this new position. And I went against my instinct. I went against my body telling me, absolutely not, do not do this. One of the things in my borrowed frequency or one of my open centers is I have an undefined G. A G is the center for self-identity, self-love, direction. And what's really important for people who have an undefined or open G is environment. Environment is extremely important. And I mean, physical environment, like walking into a building. And I remember walking into this building in a moment and immediately it was like, absolutely not, absolutely not. My body was like, no, 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 no. And the thing about those with undefined Gs, if we're in an environment that does not work for us, nothing about that environment will be correct. The people won't be correct. The decisions you make in that will not be correct. And that is exactly the experience that I had. I ended up hiring someone out of desperation because, again, it was like I just needed help. I needed to fill a body. I needed a warm being to be in this position in order to deal with the workload. That person ended up being one of the, I'll say it, most toxic people I've ever worked with. This person went to my boss and made up stories that I was berating and yelling at the team, never listening to anybody, which is really funny that if you recognize me in my borrowed frequency, I am the biggest pushover. I am the biggest people pleaser. I will bend over backwards to avoid confrontation because, oh, by the way, I have an open emotional center. So there is absolutely no way I was yelling, berating, or going after people in any sense. Then my boss launched a behind the scenes investigation about me, trying to kind of make up stories in order to get me fired. I knew this instinctively. I knew what he was doing. I knew what he was doing behind the scenes. And that's when I took the time to say, okay, this is not for me. I finally listened to my body after days, months, years, nearly crying myself on the way home, being so incredibly frustrated, feeling so incredibly stuck. And then and that idea that if I don't get out of this, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know that I can survive living in this environment anymore. And it was all because I made the decision through my borrowed frequency. Nothing about that situation, nothing about that position was correct for me. Because I made the decision going against my borrowed frequency or going against my true frequency, I made the decision through my borrowed frequency. Nothing about that position was correct. And it literally felt like it was killing me. That every day I was fine getting into my car. I was okay. The closer I got to the building, it's like I could feel my energy going down and down and down and just walking in with dread. And the moment that I walked into this environment, my entire body just felt like it was depleted. It felt like it was never going to feel life again. It was so incredibly hard and so incredibly draining simply because I made the decision through my borrowed frequency. I knew in my body that I should not have taken that position, but my mind said, you'll figure it out. It will be better than where you are. It was my brain trying to convince me and override what my body already knew. That is what it means to live in borrowed frequency. So if you are experiencing any of that, it's a signpost of, oh, I may be out of alignment. Oh, there is a different way of looking at this. And the answer truly is going to figure out your true frequency, of figuring out who it is you're here to be, the vibe that you are here to carry. I have no idea what just happened. I just got a call, so I have no idea if that did anything during live. I don't remember where I was. Oh yeah. So if you're living through borrowed frequency, those are the signposts. Those are the moments that, yes, oh crap, there is something that can be done in order to figure out a new path, in order to get on the path that is designed for you, because that's part of it too, is that you're feeling so much frustration and resistance and anger and resentment, bitterness and disappointment because you're not living through the frequency that was designed for you. And oftentimes, when you figure out your frequency, there are going to be moments or there are going to be elements about that frequency that are going to be really tough. Part of my frequency is I am and can be a very self-absorbed person. I will definitely put on my mask before I even think about whether anybody else needs a mask for themselves. And I've felt so much guilt and shame and blame for that my entire life because that's what I've been heard is, Lauren, you're so selfish, Lauren. You only think about yourself, Lauren. How could you even not consider what I might be feeling in the moment? Because that's part of my true frequency. It's not that I'm trying to be a dick or I'm trying to be an asshole to anybody else. It's simply that I start from my own vantage point. And while I also have things that counterbalance that in my design, that is a part of who I am. And to recognize that, yeah, environment is hugely important to me. And if I walk into a building these days and I feel complete ickiness and complete, oh my God, this is not for me, I will walk out. There will be no explanation in terms of, I will just say, this opportunity isn't for me. These people aren't for me, because that's what happens. For someone like me with an undefined G, if I walk into some place and an environment doesn't feel right for me, nobody in that environment will be right for me. Now, the funny thing is, I can walk out, walk across the street, walk into a new building, bring those people with me. And if that building is correct, the people will be correct, right? So it's all about figuring out the intricacies of your frequency so that you no longer have to live through borrowed frequency. It will always be a part of your life, but what you learn to do is you learn to change the relationship with your energy. That is when you start to diminish the extra challenges, pain, resistance, and the prison you feel like you're living in, because you learn who you're here to be and the frequency you're here to carry. and you learn to manage your mind and your sources of borrowed energy differently because you understand the mechanics and you can make different decisions through your own strategy and authority, through your intended frequency, in order to build, have, and lead the life that is intended for you. So, if you feel like you're living in a prison, if you feel like you're not going to make it another day being in the same job, same relationship, same situation that you find yourself in, it might be time to think, hey, or to consider, hey, am I living through a frequency that isn't for me? Because I know that's not what you're thinking initially. But if you feel so much pain, it might be the answer for you. Happy Thursday.